What happens? The object moves because there are some sort of stuff liquid in it. It has to move the liquid out of its way. It is a closed system, a closed fluid dynamic system. The same way as we have a space. The object there disturbs the space, fluid space, and the fluid space has no other vacuum to adjust itself. It takes its position from the back and let the object move ahead. To know why the gravitational field gets weaker and stronger, you need to consider a sort of a layer around planet Earth. The space, while the body moves, does not strike with the planet Earth, I mean the crust. It strikes on the layer. When it strikes with the layer, it gets pressurized. So does the space, the fluid space inside or around the Earth gets pressurized, and the pressure is then directed to the Earth's crust. Hello, this is me, Muhammad Aslam. It took me years. I have been doing home researches to know how the universe and the matter interact, how they work together. So I have come across an astounding discovery, a sort of a discovery, a principle under which the whole universe works. I have named this principle a closed fluid dynamic principle. What is this principle? This principle will be telling you about all of those, it will be answering all of those questions that are unanswered till now, even in the 21st century. As we know that, we know this force that makes object move, but we don't know why objects are moved with the force. I will be answering the questions, what is force and what force does to make object move, and why force makes object move, why is there gravity, by the way, in the first place, and why gravity decreases when going up from the crust of the earth and increases when going to the crust. It will also be answering you, it will also be a bridge between the quantum mechanics and general theory of relativity. I mean to say that this research, the closed fluid dynamic system, will be showing you that the gravity on both micro and macro objects in the universe. It will be also answering you what is inertia and why does it take place, by the way. And one thing more, there will also be, this principle also suggests that there must be a sort of modification in the third law of motion. So to know how does this system or this principle work, a closed fluid dynamic principle, this is quite easy. Consider this room filled with water. Consider it filled with water. There is no empty point. Water and water. And suppose I am standing in the water in the same room. And now there is no empty point, no vacuum, water and me. Now what if I try to move in it? What if I try to move in it? I can only move if I make the water out of my way and it takes my position or it's on my position from the back. Only then I can move, right? Otherwise I won't be able to move. Suppose I move my hand and then the water comes down and I get moved. Same is the law of the universe. In the universe, this system, this principle actually tells you that there is no vacuum, no space. Space is not a vacuum, it's fluid. Fluid means liquid. Fluid throughout the cosmos, universe. No empty point, no vacuum. Got the example of the room is same as of our universe. Universe works the same way. Objects only move by space, this here on earth as well as up there in space. This fluid is present everywhere in the universe. There is no empty point. So whenever I try to move, even if I try to move the space, I have to take out the space out of my way, the liquid space, the fluid space. What does it do? It takes my position from the back and make me move ahead. So this is what this principle is about. And one thing more, when I am moving, it also tells that third law of motion needs to be changed. I mean, third law of motion is there that every action has a reaction equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. This is exactly fine, but just for the bodies that are at rest, like this body is at rest. So this is fine. This principle is working. This law is working. But when it comes to the objects that move or starts moving, there is modification needed for that. Those objects. I mean to say, every action has a reaction equal in magnitude and same in direction. Like I told you, I try to move the space. I move the fluid space. It has to take my position from the back action and reaction in the same way. So this is why the object in the universe, as first law of motion says, move forever until a force is being applied to stop it. The reason is, why do the object moves all the time in space when moved? Because the reaction is in the same direction, 100, and it moves on. So this is what I was about to tell you. It also tells you what kinetic energy is. Kinetic energy means energy that is needed for movement. So this is what kinetic energy is. You move in the space, you move space, fluid space, it comes to the back. So this is kinetic energy. You keep moving then. So I would like to do an experiment so that you can get it better. So here is a space, right here. An artificial space, right? There is an object in it. It works the same way as the space itself, the fluid space itself. Now what I do, look at the object, right? Come closer, from here. Yes. What happens? The object moves because there are some sort of stuff liquid in it. It has to move the liquid out of its way. It is a closed system, a closed fluid dynamic system. The same way as we have a space. The object there disturbs the space, fluid space, and the fluid space has no other vacuum to adjust itself. It takes its position from the back and let the object move ahead. So this was what I wanted to show you. Look at it again once more. It is not working. Fine. So this is how our universe works. So now so now let's come to the gravity. What is gravity? What creates it? And why is it somewhere lower and somewhere maximum on crust? I mean to say, I love being asked about the gravity. Suppose this is planet Earth or any other planet, right? We're talking about Earth. Suppose this is planet Earth. As I told you, in a closed fluid dynamic system, objects strikes with a space when they move. Whenever the object moves, they strike with a space to make its way, and at the same time space comes at the back, takes its position and makes it move. And this movement, this push and pull is at atomic level. No matter what the body is, how much bigger the body is. So what happens when you strike with it, when the planets strike with a fluid space? So whenever anything that becomes in between them, that is attached to the planet Earth. Suppose this is a page. I move it in the water, it will never fall down until my hand is moving. And if it's moving, it won't fall. This is what gravity is, by the way. Something that gets stuck between two objects. That is what gravity is, by the way. Like this, it never falls. This is gravity. Same is the case with the Earth. When it goes, one thing more I would like to add. When it makes its way in the closed fluid dynamic system, at the same time there is strike at the two places. Or I would rather say in one dimension. Here there is strike, gravity is felt, right? And at the same time this comes here and pushes it in the same direction. So gravity is at the both places. Now the question is, how is the gravity felt all over the world? I mean on the whole Earth, planet Earth. It should be just here and there. This is solved very easy answer is there. When it moves, the earth spins as well as revolves. So when it revolves and spins quite fast, it let the space strike on all of its part at the same time, and things on it are stuck. Getting this is what gravity is. Now the question is, and this is very difficult question, why gravity gets weaker when we go ahead, the gravitational field, and why it gets maximum when we reaches the Earth's crust, when we reach the Earth crust. This is a difficult question, but I do have an answer to this question as well. I've prepared another sort of an experiment. Here we go. To know why the gravitational field gets weaker and stronger, you need to consider a sort of a layer around planet Earth and also in all other planets. Suppose there is a layer, and there is a layer around the Earth. What happens? That layer, like ozone layer, and that is flexible, that can be pushed. So there is a layer around the planet Earth. What happens? This layer separates the outer space, the outer fluid space, from the inner fluid space around the Earth. Wait. This is the best representation I could make to you. This is a layer around Earth or any other planet, a flexible layer. The layer is not like this. And I don't know how it came into being. I don't know. The Earth is in the center of it, right? Look at it. This is planet Earth. What happens when the Earth rotates, spins and revolves around the sun? It strikes with a layer. It does not strike with the Earth crust. The space, while the body moves, does not strike with the planet Earth, the crust. It strikes on the layer. When it strikes with the layer, it gets pressurized. So does the space, the fluid space inside or around the Earth gets pressurized, and the pressure is then directed to the Earth's crust. This is how. Now the question is, how does the gravitational field or the force gets weaker when you go ahead or far away from it? The answer is easy. It is here before you, because when you are on the Earth, planet Earth, the strike is very less. It could be 0 point something. The strike that is between the object and the space, fluid space, that is very less, 0 point something. That force is being created. But why do we have 9.8 Newton? That is because of the trapped space, the trapped fluid space from the outer space by the layer around it. When it moves, say it is being pressurized, it's a minor level, but it is pressurized. The layer strikes the layer along with the Earth, and the trapped space strikes with the outer space. What happens? That pressurizes it, and from the all sides, as I told you, this moves, revolves and rotates, spins and revolves. So it pressurizes the layer pressurizes the inner fluid space, and then the planet Earth, the crust. It is maximum, so there is the force is just, the strike force is 0 point something. And we have 9.8. The reason behind it is the mass of the trapped space. The trapped space has its own mass. Like you are at the bottom of the ocean and you go ahead, the mass of the water goes, you leave it behind and you get weaker. The force is quite less. Same is the case here. When you leave the Earth's crust and you get ahead towards the layer into the space, what happens? The force gets weaker. And when you go to the crust, the force is maximum. So this gravity is not a sort of a force, or it is just, it is not something that Newton says. It is something that Einstein predicted the same thing. He said this is equivalent principal equivalence. What is that? There is the same movement. With acceleration, it gets greater. With speed, there is gravity. Whenever there is a movement in the object, it of course strikes with the space, and anything that comes in between gets stuck to it. This is the force, and the great force like we have on 9.8. It should be 9. Here it is 0 point something. The strike is quite less. Again, I am telling you, the strike is quite less here, but on Earth it is 9.8 the gravity. I mean the force. That is because of the trapped space, the mass of the trapped space by the layer. Get it? I hope you got it. So this is how the gravitational field is felt. And this is working on both quantum level and general level, right? Like general theory of relativity, there is no theory till now which can combine both of them. Sort of a gravity, a theory that could satisfy the gravity, this force on both quantum and bigger micro and macro level. So this would do it. As well as I would like to say, okay, I need help. I need a sort of a society where I can discuss my ideas, and I hope so. In the next video, I will be sharing the gravity of the universe. The universe does not have the same gravity. Also, the gravity of the universes. I mean, the multiverse, how gravity is being felt. Things does not go the way the videos show. They revolve. Even the universe revolves itself. By the way, in the next video, inshallah, I will be telling you what is gravity on universal level in the universe. That is not the same gravity. That is also because of the fluid space, but not the same thing. See you inshallah. Welcome to